This week on Capitol Report. Round 4 in Bridgeport goes to Ganem.
If people want to look backwards, there's plenty of time for that. Tonight sets a new date for Bridgeport.
His opponent, John Gomes, still making noise in defeat.
We took it to the end. Yeah. We did not sell out.
Plus, more trash talk over the sale of nips.
We want towns to be able to decide for themselves if nips should be banned.
It's not going to solve the problem.
A push to protect the public from artificial intelligence.
The bill basically focuses on transparency and accountability.
Also, the fight for one fair wage getting pushback from restaurant owners.
We think it'll do more harm than good.
Plus, we dish out the scoop on ice cream flavors at UConn. Capitol Report starts now. Welcome to Capitol Report. I am Tom Dudchick, and we are so glad you're spending this first weekend in March alongside the panel. The mayor of Bloomfield, Connecticut, Danielle Wan.
Good morning.
Picking up nips on the side of your road. We'll get to that later. Joe Harrison was former Speaker of the House, drinking those nips that are going on the side of the road.
Often,
yeah. Liz Carrano is pushing the holiday, Liz.
Listen, these Irish eyes are always smiling.
Johnny Mac, McKinney. Huh? Where's your green?
I go straight to the fifth.
Okay,
the handle.
All right, guys, let's get it going here. Hey, it's over in Bridgeport, finally, right? Well, I think, who knows? That aside, what we do know is that Mayor Joe Ganem, elected to another 4-year term at Bridgeport City Hall. The win caps a 6-month odyssey that began with a questionable primary victory last fall that led to a legal battle surrounding absentee ballot fraud that led to a judge calling for a new primary, which then led to last week's special election. Exhausting, right? Ganem defeated feisty challenger Johnny Gomes, receiving endorsements from all of Connecticut Democrats' power players leading up to last Tuesday night. Here's Joe talking about the win. Watch this.
To me, it's a ratification, an appreciation of the people of the city of Bridgeport coming out a 4th time, saying please come out 4 times, and to see them do it in greater numbers with a greater victory. So I'm humbled by it, energized to keep the commitment for Bridgeport.
As for challenger John Gomes and the long and winding road that led to defeat, well, he still has a bone to pick about those absentee ballot laws. Listen to this.
We got to talk to Hartford. We need to bring some true, strong reform to the absentee whole process. Because that is a crutch and it's holding for progress. As long as we allow the system to take advantage of our seniors, our elders, our immigrants, we have an issue. As long as the dead continues to vote, we have an issue.
So raise your hands if you think, panel, we're going to hear about absentee ballots in Bridgeport again. McKinney, no McKinney?
Wow.
Wow, McKinney.
Not for a while. I mean,
not until November.
What have we learned? There's no problem here. There's nothing going on. Every single Democrat in the state endorsed Joe Ganem. What's the big deal? We saw a woman on tape stuff a ballot box with maybe hundreds of ballots. She still has her job and is getting paid, and nothing's happening. This is a disgrace. We should really all be upset, but people aren't upset. I think, as in terms of the elections, what we learned is getting the Democratic nomination in Bridgeport is the victory. Joe Ganem, Mario Testa are really good politics. They knew that. They got it by hook and by crook. But it doesn't matter.
John Gomes is upset, though, right?
Yeah, John Gomes is upset, and he does have reason to be upset. I think, you know, the Bridgeport elections have really just turned into a divisional baseball series to where it's a 4-game. You know, you got to win 4 games before you move on. Ganem has. And I think that was the reason you saw the Democrats step forward. It's like, enough already. This city needs leadership. It needs to move forward. All the investigations are going forward. SEEK has said it has more resources going into the Bridgeport election than any other investigation they've ever done. The police are involved. The FBI still has the tape. So that's all going to move. Representative Blumenthal stood up and said there will be changes in the election and absentee laws. So that's a good step forward. but it is an embarrassment.
You know, and Ganem was pretty wound up. There's 81,000 voters in Bridgeport, Danielle. 81,000, 10,000 voted. He's up there cheering like he won like the presidency of the United States.
Yeah, I've seen firsthand on the ground in municipalities how primaries can, beyond the voter fatigue, can divide households, communities, neighborhoods. And it takes a toll on the community to the point where this type of lack of transparency, this type of criminal activity that we're seeing, or allegedly, can really impact things like business development. So it is important for everyone, top down, to really dive in, see what we're going to do on the ground level or in Hartford or DC when it comes to absentee ballot voting and ballot access. So, you know, we really have to dig into that.
I don't want to hear one word from a Democrat in this state about election integrity ever again, because they have sat by and watched this happen, and they will do nothing. With all due respect, Representative Blumenthal is paying lip service to this situation. They are not serious about taking this on. They are not serious about restoring confidence in our elections, and they ought to be ashamed. Senator Duff puts out an op-ed talking about international interference in our elections. It's happening right in Bridgeport, and he has said nothing. So I don't want to hear about it. Republicans are going to be the ones carrying the mantle on election integrity in the state of Connecticut.
That's why I didn't raise my hand.
Where's the Tylenol? Hey, it's kind of crazy what possesses people to do what they do, but apparently not finding a proper place to dispose nips, McKinney's nips, continue to be a problem in our state. They're everywhere. Cities and towns are sick of the mess. Danielle's sick of it. And now there's a push for a new law that would allow municipalities to decide if they want to ban liquor stores from selling the nips. Guess who doesn't like that? Well, liquor store owners. They say towns aren't using the money from nip deposit to fund the cleanup initiatives. But first, listen to what one woman who supports this bill had to say.
Just a little over a year to date, I've collected over 62,000 nip bottles just in my walks through Bristol, which was astounding to me that there's that many thrown out on the streets.
I think we're looking at this the wrong way. It is an issue. Let's address it uniformly. Let's use the money that is being sent to these towns and cities directly for the problem, which is litter. And we're not about the business in the state of banning things. We're in the business of regulating.
I don't know, Larry. I think the pasta's cooked, as far as I'm concerned. The mayor, you see a lot in your town, huh?
Oh, we see a lot. So if I was a mayor, I would seriously be considering banning nips. It is a huge issue when it comes to litter around the communities. It impacts, again, the ability to brand your community with pride and being able to attract businesses into the community. And notwithstanding the impact from a revenue side that this does have on our small businesses or our liquor stores that are in town, we also, as municipalities, cities and towns, need to look into the budget. Where is the money going, and is it going directly to combat these litter opportunities? I know that coming into municipal budget season, we are going to find it very hard, not just me, but other leaders around the state, to raise taxes, to deploy more services to combat this issue on litter. So we really have to decide what we're going to do locally, and we'll see where that bill takes us. So.
I mean, listen, I don't think this bill is going anywhere. That's my understanding of the status of this situation. I think it's great everybody's going to go up and talk about it. But the one thing, this is what happens when government intervenes, right? We try and solve a problem, and they only create a bigger one, because this is becoming a slush fund for municipalities. They're not using the money for what it's intended for. The legislature failed to put the restrictions on those funds to make sure that the resources were going towards the cleanup, but this is going nowhere.
Yeah, I don't envision this bill coming out, and partly it's because of how the legislature works. They just did a pretty comprehensive bill bottle a couple years ago. A lot of agreements were made in that. I think this was one of them. If you make an agreement, you can't just come back the next year and then change it. So let's make sure the municipalities are spending the money. Let's make sure we're continuing to do everything we can as a state to encourage the proper disposal, and we should be penalizing people when we catch them. Littering's not cool, right? You should get a ticket. You should get multiple tickets.
Can you wrap it up? You're a fireball guy, right?
Yeah, actually, we do enjoy a fireball shot every now and then. I mean, litter's a huge problem. The nips had added to that. I don't think banning the nips is going to solve the litter problem. And I understand that towns and cities need funds, so they're going to use the funds they get from the nip bottles for other things. That should have been expected when the legislature passed the law. and they were a little naive to think otherwise.
All right, guys, goody gumdrops from dips to beer. Target and other big box stores want to sell beer in Connecticut. Those stores say it's about shoppers' convenience. They want to shift the law regarding the percentage of items a store has to sell to be considered a grocery store. Are you following me? In order to sell beer, the law says 51% of your sales need to be groceries. Once again, here's Larry Cafaro on why this would crush the owners of liquor stores. Larry, take it away.
Unlike Target, they can't sell lawn furniture, clothing, groceries. They could only sell 3 things. And there are people out there that want to take that away for their own profit.
Well, Liz was kind of gesturing to me during the commercial. Me.
This is about free market, right? This is about the fact that it's good for consumers, and the longer that politicians are on the wrong side of consumers, the harder it's going to be for the politicians. For folks that want to be able to, you know, grab a 6-pack when they're getting their groceries, they ought to be able to do that. I mean, my point is, I think that we've had antiquated laws, and every time there's an effort to try and change the laws, we're told that this is going to close the businesses, and that has not happened year over year over year. And so it's not fair to the consumer, and it's not fair to the stores that they're boxed out of that market when they're actually selling groceries.
We're still trying to get wine in grocery markets too.
Yeah, look, this is what bothers me. It's just not consistent. How can you say you're about the free market when we had the Home Depots, the Lowe's come in and put almost all of the smaller stores out of business? The ones that survived, they adapted, they changed. Same thing with the prescription drugs, right? CVS, Walgreens took over a ton. We lost a lot of the little pharmacies, but they've adapted. You have Beacon out there, you have other ones. Why are we all of a sudden saying we don't care about consumer convenience, we're going to protect an industry? Yep. It's not what we do.
But this isn't about just the Targets. This is about every single gas station that has a grocery store is now going to sell beer, and they're going to become a mini liquor store. I don't think that's the right way to go.
This is what you usually say. Well, they're controlled substances. That's why this is different, right? They are. There you go, McKinney. Hey, Ray, up next on Capital Report, artificial intelligence, that's McKinney, deep fakes, and more on Bridgeport. We'll discuss both of these topics with News 8's political contributor, our pal Mike Cerulli. We get back. Don't go away.
Take it on, McKinney.
By the way, I do have permanent status.
At least 96% of deepfakes that currently exist on the internet are non-consensual and sexually explicit. Nearly all of these feature women and girls.
Shocking testimony during a hearing on the General Law Committee on a massive artificial intelligence bill with so much going on under the dome. Let's check in with News 8's man at the Capitol for an update, Mike Cerulli. Mike, you don't look like you're at the Capitol today, Mike, huh?
Good morning, Tom, and hello, everyone from Southbury, not the state capitol. Good catch, Tom. I'm here chasing the governor around the state.
Yeah, he moves around fast in that gas-powered GMC, Mike. No EV there. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about this AI bill you've been tracking.
Yeah, the word massive, that's a pretty appropriate adjective for this bill. The bill is SB2. It's a top priority for Senate President Looney and his caucus. Kind of 2 parts to it. The first part takes aim at a lot of the dangers of artificial intelligence. We've talked about deepfakes. You saw at the top there sound on that generative revenge porn. Also takes aim at discrimination and bias. The second part sort of aims to promote and incentivize the good stuff, the potential job creation that will come with artificial intelligence, in addition to, of course, the jobs it will displace. So it's a pretty big bill. If it passes, it'll make Connecticut one of the leaders in this type of regulation, and it's put State Senator James Maroney, who introduced the bill and principally authored it, it's really put him on a national spotlight. He's become a leader nationwide on this issue, Tom.
Mike, I could probably ask Eric Sim, was former speaker, but this thing going to pass?
Some version of it will almost certainly pass. Like I said, it's a priority of the Senate President and Leader Duff. It's being very heavily lobbied. There's some pushback. AFL-CIO President Ed Hawthorne testified. He argued that the bill puts too much power in the hands of the AI developers, those big corporations that are spending billions on the technology. He also said that the bill sort of takes away the private right of action for people who are harmed by any of the stuff outlined in the first 6 provisions of the bill. It's interesting, State Senator Tony Wong, a Republican, made essentially the same argument, saying that individuals should be able to have action on this, not just the AG, as it's currently written, Tom.
All right, Mike, hey, switching gears, we've been talking about Bridgeport. Are you hearing anything on the absentee ballot reforms now that the Bridgeport fiasco has finally concluded, hopefully?
Well, certainly everyone in the building sort of agrees that something has to be done, anything really. There seems to be pretty broad agreement across the aisle on beefing up the penalties and the enforcement. The governor said, the wheels of justice are turning too slowly, so speeding up Sikh enforcement definitely on the minds of legislators. As far as the actual absentee balloting process, it's less clear if we'll see reforms on that. Matt Blumenthal has told me that he doesn't want to do anything that will infringe or impede upon someone's right to obtain or cast an absentee ballot. So that's sort of a hard line for them. I will say, in addition to a lot of discussion on reforms, we've also been hearing a lot of wisecracks up at the Capitol. It's sort of turned into a joke up there. One of the better ones I heard. A very well-placed source told me it's kind of like the World Series in Bridgeport. It takes 4 to win, and luckily we didn't have to go to a full 7, Tom.
Great, Mike Cerulli. You're still trying to go to those sports analogies, Mike. Thanks for joining us this morning. See you soon. Thanks, Mike.
Good to be here.
Next up on Capitol Report, tip wages coming in. We'll see you next. Don't go away. As a server, you make tips on top of an hourly pay that's well below Connecticut's minimum wage. But for some servers, it doesn't always work out that way. So the national organization One Fair Wage is looking once again to get Connecticut to require restaurants to bump the hourly pay for servers to the full minimum wage. Restaurant associations fighting this.
It's just not about me. It's about family members, friends. They are living the same situation that I was in. They have their own families and they're like almost homeless because they can't buy food, they can't pay rent, they can have their own car because it's too high right now. Like I said, the cost of living is high.
On average, our servers are making $33 an hour. Our bartenders are making $38 in the state, making more than double the minimum wage. Through this model, this piece of legislation is trying to eliminate that. They're trying to say you need to pay them full minimum wage and then tips on top of that. But my question to the listeners is, that's a $9, just on the server side, it's a $9.30 gap that would have to be increased per server, per hour, per shift if you change the model. So, where is that going to get pushed? On the owner, on the customers, raising prices and doing it where these people, the models already work.
Well, it's something we can all get our teeth into. We all go to restaurants, we all eat out, we all tip well. What do you guys think?
So Tom, let's be clear on what is supposed to happen. All the tipped workers are guaranteed the minimum wage, but what does it require? On the back of your time card, I was a server, I was a bartender. You're supposed to declare what your tips were for the day. They then figure out your hourly wage, what you got for tips, and if you fall short, you will get made up the difference. They do not report their tips. It's cash in their pocket, it is untaxed, and they move on. You talk to the vast majority of the servers, the bartenders, almost 93% say the system works the way it is and we're happy. So who is pushing this? Who is really pushing this? Why is it outside groups coming up and stepping up for the workers? I would feel much better if we had all bartenders and servers that showed us their ideas and said, I'm here saying it needs to change.
Here's who's pushing it.
Republicans, you're assuming.
Here's who's pushing it. This is yet another example of a national effort to make Connecticut a petri dish for bad ideas. And we are looking at a situation where if you do this, you're going to be turning those tip wages over to the employer, and the employer will decide how those tips are distributed. You're going to see a 6% reduction in jobs across the state, and nobody wants this. The waiters, the wait staff, and the servers and the bartenders, they don't want it. It's not good for restaurants. It's not good for consumers. It's not good for the state of Connecticut, and this ought to be done.
Cost, quality, speed. You can't have all three, right? So as a mayor in my particular town, I worry about my small businesses, our restaurants, high-end, middle income, and whatever the case may be. It's going to be very hard to pass the burden on to either the customer or the restaurant. So that's a huge debate that we have to address as well. And so right now, we don't have enough information. I'm not prepared to support it either way, but the small businesses and the restaurant industry, as it relates to the local pieces, need to be prioritized in my book.
I remember making $3.17 an hour minimum wage washing dishes in a restaurant. When I became a waiter at that restaurant, my salary went through the roof. Look, this works for 90+% of the wait staff. It shouldn't change. If anybody eats out, you've seen with inflation, thanks Joe Biden, it's through the roof. This is going to hurt restaurants.
Okay, next on Cap Report, we're talking ice cream and UConn. What a winning combo. Story we get back, do not go away. The food segment, the booze and food segment.
I'm hungry.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, nice.
UConn Dairy Bar, can't miss stop for great ice cream on the store's campus since 1953, guys. Each year there's a contest called Senior Scoops where students pick a winning ice cream flavor, creation, and name. And last week, the Daily Campus reported that basketball capital of the world is the year's winner. It's black raspberry ice cream with Oreo and fudge ripples, guys. And for other Senior Scoops winners from past Hurley's Almond Swirl, Mirror Lake Mint, Gino Oreo Emma, and Jonathan Java Crunch. Guys, what's your favorite?
I'm calling C because I don't believe any of these results from this election. It is Jonathan Trax. That is the original. It's perfect. Leave it alone.
Really? I like the Gino Oreo.
Well, this year's.
I like this year's. That's a good one. I want to try that.
Panned by the students. They don't like the black raspberry.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fudge swirl guy.
Alex Karabin said black raspberry was his favorite.
All right, well, there you go.
He knows what he's
If there's
talking
no
about.
peanut butter, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I gotta have some crunch.
I like a cookies and cream.
Cookies and cream?
Yeah.
Well, you look like a Thin Mint right there.
Wow.
It's Girl Scout cookie season.
I know.
You're gonna be talking to HR after this show.
The coach.
That's true. We could have said Chunky Mint.
Coming back on Time Dudchick. See you next week.
All right, John. Oh, that was bad. That was a lick.